Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Buttery Fresh. With me are my co-hosts, as always, Splice Haven.
What up?
And a sleepy Wookie. Wookie, you're muted, by the way. My name is Evo, and I am also one of the co-hosts. And with us today, we have Kicklighter. Am I saying your first and last name? We actually didn't verify that
First
beforehand.
That's
First and last name, FF Kicklighter, Justin Kicklighter of My Vape Bar, based out of Georgia. He is kind of a big deal in the vaping industry. Should be a pretty good chat going with this guy here. And yeah, why don't you go and introduce yourself there, good buddy? Give us a little brief intro about yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Justin Kicklighter. I'm 32 years old. I have a wife and two children. Live here in the Metro Atlanta area. Moved up here from Florida about 12 years ago. What does that mean?
I'm
sorry, this is us saying hello.
Yeah.
So I guess we got to give you a quick shtick. This is our hello because we don't necessarily interact with Twitch chat as we're going live. If we get subs, donations, bits, or anything like that, you'll either see us do one of these or do one of these. For anybody that's listening, you can go ahead and catch all of that on the Buttery Fresh Instagram page. Or Twitter page. Edit it out and post. Anyway, carry on.
So yeah, 32, wife, two kids. I am a serial entrepreneur. I love the idea of business and starting businesses, failing, succeeding, fixing myself, fixing issues. I'm good at operations, supply chain management. It's just stuff I love to do. I try not to stay bored. If I'm stagnant too long or I've been doing something the same for an extended period of time, I get bored. So it's always got to be something new.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that when I first met you, you were working as a firefighter, and you had just opened up your first vape shop. I remember going in there, I believe, on the first week that you guys were open. You've come quite a long way. How many stores do you oversee, run, work with, like on a normal basis?
So when I guess we'll start at the firefighter thing. So I moved up here from Florida with my current wife back in 2007. We moved up here. I got a job with the City of Marietta Fire Department. Although in the back of my head, I had always wanted to start and run businesses, right? I had tried some little stuff on the side, believe it or not. My wife makes fun of me all the time about it, but I did I bought like the off-brand perfume scents and cologne scents and ended up like rebottling it and going to flea markets and stuff like that. And the vape shop back in early 2014 was kind of my first real venture into business. And it was kind of the first business that I actually went out and got some investment money from to start up. So obviously 2014 was like a really big year to open vape shops like everywhere. I mean, 2014, you started seeing them pop up on every single corner. So my thought process was like, I love creativity and options. So we opened up this vape shop and it was called Marietta Vape Bar, right? And the reason it was called Marietta Vape Bar was because it was like a bar. I mean, we had 100 different 1-liter bottles sitting behind the counter, and somebody could come in and say, I want strawberry, lemon with a hint of blueberry and make it menthol. And we could literally mix it up like a bartender in the back or behind the counter and do that. So we made our own liquid. We made a little clean room inside of the shop that we made the batches in, and then we got then we had interest from another local shop that said, hey, like we get like such good reviews from you guys' house product. Would you mind making our house product as well? And I was like, all right, well, yeah, we can go ahead and do that. So we did that. And then I got asked by somebody else. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I can actually like turn this into something. So it was one shop, then two shops, then four shops, then 8 shops. And before you know it, like I'm having to lease out a whole nother space to build out this manufacturing place to be able to manufacture other people's products. White label and private label is what we call it, right? So we got this 1,500 square foot suite, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna be able to chill in here for a while. 6 months into it, I mean, we're walking over each other. We have no idea. We receive our first pallet shipment. It's not dock high, so we're sticking a whole pallet, which takes up the whole back room. I was sharing an office with like 3 other people. Like this size office, I had like 3 other people, 3 other desks, 3 other computers, and we were just working over each other. December of 2017, we moved into the current spot that we're in, which is about 7,000 square feet of warehouse and the mixing lab and multiple offices. So believe it or not, we're like busting at the seams here. Instead of one pallet not knowing where to put it, and now we've got like 8 pallets and we don't know where to put the pallets. And we have gone beyond just private labeling and white labeling. We actually have a couple of our own nationally recognized brands now. Nationally recognized brands now, and I'm thankful for that. And on top of that, we package for other brands. So somebody will have a brand already, and they'll come to us and they'll say, "Hey, we want to focus solely on marketing and sales. Can you handle the manufacturing side? Because the manufacturing side is very labor intensive, and there's a lot that goes into keeping track of the raw materials and stuff like that." So we package for 45 other brands and we fulfill for them too. So they literally send us orders for their customers, and we pack it, slap a label on a box, put a packing slip in there, and then send it to their customers. So completely hands off for them. They can market and sell, and we focus on the manufacturing stuff, which is what I love.
That's crazy, man. And you've accomplished all of this in 6 years.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's
that is fucking phenomenal, dude. Like, I mean, you started from scratch and then built this entire reputation that is national. I mean, that's extremely admirable, man. I bragged about you to a lot of people that I know online too. I know one of our digital viewers that's in here now, she can vouch. I'm like, I know this guy, dude. I saw him from the beginning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we literally at the shop. I mean, we used to have these little bins, right? And we'd have like, I think it held maybe 15 bottles in this bin, and we would kind of use that to make the liquid at the bar. And now we're well over manufacturing over 100,000 bottles a month. So to me, it's it's really surreal. Like I'm grateful for everything that we've had. And honestly, I can't give anyone any credit outside of my team. I mean, my team has been the best. I mean, they're back there working right now, and they don't have to be. You know what I mean? They're working because we have extra work.
Yeah, of course.
They love it. They're a family. I've got a guy that helped me build out the shop, Jason, which you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's cool. He's still working with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know working or like, seeing it from the beginning and everything. I used to try to get you to hire me on, man. And, when you're ready to hang out and head out over to the California way, I'll be here, buddy. Just let me know. Still unemployed, by the way.
Beautiful weather. I couldn't live out there.
Yeah, let's fucking go, man. Let's go. Well, I mean, one thing I know about you, and as people get to know you as well, that's listening to this podcast and everything, or order juice from him and everything. By the way, guys, you're a really, really genuine guy, and I it's obvious and apparent that you do it because you care, not only for the quality you're putting out, but also for the entire vaping community. And you've made a lot of strides on the political aspect, let alone the business aspect, obviously. I mean, you are like across the entire board here. how much stress does that induce? I mean, because I once again, I know you're a super genuine guy. You are all about, everything all the time in the entire industry. I mean, how do you do it without absolutely just imploding in yourself?
So one, I can point out that like my dad does not have this hair thinning hair. Okay? My dad has a very defined line, right? And I have thinning hair up here, so I'll attribute that to stress. But if you rewind, even before the fire department, even at jobs while I was at high school or just after high school, the district managers that I always dealt with, I always started as like a low level employee, right? And I always strive to get the assistant manager or manager role because that's what I always wanted. And they had always told me that the work you do has your name attached to it, like no matter what you do, right? So if it's bad, your name's attached to it, you're going to look bad. If you do good work, your name's attached to it, you're going to do good work, or you're going to be known for doing good work, right?
Of course.
So I brought that over to my own business, and on top of like when they're behind in there, I'm not afraid to go in there and hop in there. Although I have like other important stuff that I could obviously be doing, like I'll always go in there and help because I think that leading by example is huge. But it's the same. I don't want to have a bad name with anybody. So and we make mistakes like everybody else. If we mess up on an order, or if we mess up manufacturing something, or if we mess up at all, I'm 100% going to make it right with no questions asked. Like I'll do it before you even know I'm already correcting it and making it right. Because I don't want to have a bad name. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And again, it shows. It absolutely shows.
Yep, there have been a couple instances where, someone has called me out on Facebook for something, but they say that's going to happen no matter what. But again, I always turn around, I'll hit them up in private message and I'll make it right, so.
Yeah, I've seen those posts, man, and you always handle it well. I just cheer from the sidelines.
Sometimes I am known for running a pretty solid vague book, and that's a fault of mine. But
I've got to ask, how did you make the transition from public service to the vape industry? In terms of going from being a firefighter to the vape industry.
So I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, I always wanted to own a business, and this was the first one I kind of went out and got an investment for. The barriers to enter this industry were very minimal when I entered it. Right? There wasn't the same regulation or licensing in some states even that is required now. But my mom and dad smoked cigarettes the entire time that I was living with them growing up, and they smoked inside. So like I never knew, because it's all I knew. Like when I was going to elementary school, middle school, I'd smell like cigarette smoke because they'd smoke inside the house. And it was so bad that you could see white walls turning yellow inside the house. My mom switched to vaping in like 2011, back when there was like the cig likes in the mall. There were mall kiosks at the time, and they were a lot of money. She switched to vaping back then from cigarette, and all she knew is how much better she felt. She could taste food. Her doctor, because there was a period of time where she was having to get stents in her legs like once a year, it seemed like. But then she started vaping, and whatever it is from the carcinogens and the tar from cigarettes that just do really bad stuff to your arteries, the vaping wasn't doing that to her. She hasn't had to have a stent surgery in 7 years, 8 years. My dad actually ended up getting stage 4 lung cancer from his smoking. It was secondary to smoking. He went through the whole chemo and radiation process, quit smoking, not even through vaping, which I have to applaud. But he actually made it through and ended up out cancer free, which is really rare for stage 4 lung cancer.
Holy crap.
So those are obviously, them being my parents, were great motivators for me to really dive into this business, right? And even more background, I started smoking cigarettes when I was 13 years old. A form of peer pressure got me, right? So I was smoking at 13, basically until age 20. I started with the fire department when I was 20 years old, and I quit smoking and started dipping. So I was able to run because I wasn't smoking, but I was still getting nicotine from dipping, which I did for about 2 years, and it was disgusting looking back at it. Spitting in the bottles and leaving them placed. My wife
shit getting caught in between your teeth.
Yeah. But it's the Georgia way.
It is the Georgia way. It is from the South, but I was able to quit dipping with vaping, obviously because of the nicotine. You crave the nicotine, and us as humans, is there something about stimulants in general for humans, whether it be caffeine from an energy drink or nicotine from vaping or smoking? It's just
yep, hand to mouth everything.
Yep.
for sure.
So it actually kind of makes me laugh. One of my best friends just went through a paramedic program, and now he's going through a firefighter program. And one of the things that he told me when he was starting it was that the professor, instructor, whatever it may be, mentor at the time, was telling them was that, these next, let's call it 16 weeks or whatever it may be, are going to be like some of the most strenuous times of your life. And so don't try and make any changes. If you were on a diet, fuck your diet. If you were smoking cigarettes, keep on smoking cigarettes. Don't try and quit smoking. And so, it just, I've dipped a handful of times. I've used, the little pouches here and there, but same as you, I started smoking cigarettes when I was 13 years old, maybe.
Same.
And I vaped until, I smoked until I was 20-ish or so. And I've been on a vape since then. It took me I'd say 6 months. I'm glancing over here at my girlfriend because she's the reason that I, quit smoking and started vaping. And so I'm looking for her affirmation on it. But let's go somewhere in that timeline. It's incredible, the amount of difference that it really does make. I'll never try and say that vaping is good for me, no, but it is infinitely better for me than smoking cigarettes ever could have been.
Absolutely.
Well, you can't deny the immediate results, although it hasn't been around long enough to know very long term. And I'll admit that too. We just don't know very long term, but you can see immediate results, right? I smoked Marlboro Smooths when I was smoking cigarettes, and there were mornings I woke up and I was hacking my lungs out. I felt terrible all the time.
Coughing up that brown shit, bro.
Yeah.
Flavor Town.
Oh yeah.
With vaping, I don't get winded going upstairs. I don't have a morning cough. I taste food perfectly fine.
Your fingers don't smell.
Right.
That was the biggest thing for me, man, is my hands didn't smell like total dog shit anymore.
And no matter how much you wash them, it doesn't
ever go away. It doesn't ever go away.
I dated this girl for 4 years while I was smoking cigarettes, and she had no idea I smoked cigarettes. Every night before on my way home from work, I would stop at a gas station. I would use mouthwash. I would wash my face, wash my hands, and somehow she never knew that I smoked cigarettes. It was wild.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm adjusting audio's levels as we're going through here, just to kind of compensate for everything. But yeah, man, the lifestyle differences themselves, namely with tasting things. That is the one thing that I'd say probably within 2 weeks or so really, really completely changed for me. Was not smelling like shit all day, every day. And you become numb to it. Like you were saying, your parents smoked inside when you were growing up. My parents both were smokers. They still kind of sort of are, not as severe as it was. But one of my best friends growing up, his family smokes, or his family only smoked inside. And after a certain point, my parents refused to let me go and hang out at this kid's house because I would come home and my mom would be like, all right, get undressed. We got to throw that shit in the dryer, in the wash right away, And
Yep.
so it's kind of insane.
It really is. For some people it's very hard to switch, and it's just like when I did want to quit smoking, and I did quit smoking cigarettes for like a 2 week period without anything, and then I hopped right back on it. It's because I really didn't want to quit. I knew I needed to quit, but you really have to want to quit. Like,
absolutely, it still takes some sort of mental fortitude to actually quit.
And the government wants you to think that, like, okay, you're smoking cigarettes, you should vape a tobacco flavor because that it's so adult oriented. It doesn't. That's a whole nother subject. But nobody wants to vape a tobacco. Like, why would you want to vape something that reminds you of a cigarette? It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't make any sense at all.
When I quit, then I went from like a pack a day of either Newport menthol hundreds or
God damn, boy.
Yeah, no, I know.
Or, buddy.
Yeah. And before that I smoked 27s, and before that the first cigarette that I ever smoked was a Virginia Slim when I was like 12 or 13 years old. And then immediately after that I graduated to Reds, and it took me, I don't know, I'd say probably like, God, it hurts to me to say this, but by the time I was like probably 14 or 15 years old, like I was smoking a pack of Reds a day. And then like I stopped smoking for the most part, or like I cut down quite significantly. Like when I was in high school, I played a good amount of sports. And so like, having to, be able to jog at least like a marginal amount of distance was kind of, important at that time. Yeah. And so, I started cutting down smoking. And then once I like realized that I enjoyed hanging out with friends and like drinking and doing that kind of stuff, I stopped playing sports and I started smoking again, as you naturally progress. And then over the course of the last couple of years, like we went from using like big mechs and big tanks and being on, like 3 to 6 milligram juice at a certain point. Keep in mind, this was like 5 years ago when the industry was still relatively fresh. And then we used that forever. And then I switched to the Juul, which was the worst decision I ever made in my entire life, because I got more addicted to the Juul than I ever did to smoking cigarettes. And I was spending more money on Juul pods than I ever would on a pack of cigarettes.
Highly addictive.
Pot a day, bro. Yeah.
Pot
a day.
And for scale, so I live in Chicago, right? In the city of Chicago, for me to go buy a pack of Newports, shorts, not hundreds, you're looking at probably in the ballpark of like $15 to $17. A pack of mint Juul pods right now, because I don't know if this is federal or if it's a state level thing, but mint Juul pods in Illinois, you're technically not supposed to be able to order and distribute them anymore. And so now I was at the vape shop a couple of days ago, and they had cool mint Juul pods. Just out of curiosity, how much do you think they wanted for a pack of 2, not 4, 2?
I've seen some serious price gouging because of the legalities of selling them. I've seen them around here as high as like 35.
So I was going to say between 35 and 45.
Especially the mango shot like way up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all of it, like it's kind of incredible how insane the pricing for it is now. But then again, at the same time, like once we switched from the Juul back to right now, we're on the Lost Vape Orions, which we absolutely love them. This is the second one of them that we got. And we like have been slowly cutting down our nicotine. And so we went from 50 milligram salts, in the Juul pods, and now we're down to 3 milligrams. And we went from 50 milligram salts to 6 milligrams right away, which, I mean, that alone is a stark difference. And it wasn't until we switched down to these 3 that now, like, I'm walking down the street, like, it's 8:00 in the morning. I just got off the subway. I'm walking down Michigan Avenue. Somebody in front of me lights up a cigarette. Oh man, for the first time in my life, I'm sitting there like,
Juuls are when you went from 50 milligram down to 6, it had to have been like almost quitting smoking. Like,
so for me, it wasn't quitting smoking. So, and what I'm about to say is going to sound so fucking stupid because I know the science of it is not true, but for me, it's less it was harder for me to go from smoking to vaping than it was to go from 50 milligram to 3 milligram. And that's because for me, like, I'm personally convinced that I am more addicted to the physical act of smoking something than I am to the nicotine itself. Don't get me wrong, like I'll never say that I'm not addicted to nicotine, but I'm convinced that's more of a mental block for me than it is actually like a physical addiction. Because we tried to quit. We made it like, I don't know, 8 hours.
I'm gonna quit today. Oh wait, psych.
Right.
And say psych right now.
Meals, right? Like you have a big, greasy, fatty meal, and you want it to have a cigarette. I mean, that's the hardest part.
Yeah,
you have a double
Or you
cheeseburger.
just slept for 8 hours and then you woke up.
Right. Or you get some of that. Yeah, or you get some of that good loving, and you're laying in there, you're like, sure could use a cool right about now. But for me, like even going from 3 to 0, which we tried to do, like just the physical act of having something that I could puff on was infinitely more helpful for me than it was for like my girlfriend, for instance, who like cutting out the nicotine alone. And it could be just like the mentality of knowing like you're no longer getting nicotine. It could even be that, but just like getting over those little humps, in my opinion, was like, is the most difficult part, is the psychological aspect of it. Because the physical aspect of it, like there's many non-smoking alternatives. But I mean, how often do you see a guy or a gal go from like smoking a pack a day to trying to cut down, and they're like still chain smoking cigarettes while chewing on a pack of Nicorette?
Yeah.
Like it's all in the mind.
Yeah, well, vaping's been really I think the most successful for the most people. Just because you still get that hand to mouth motion, you're still getting nicotine, and you're still inhaling something. Now, some people who have smoked cigarettes for a long time and then try vaping, like my dad did, for instance, he would take a hit of a vape, even a 3 or even a 0 milligram, and he would cough his lungs out because it's different, right? Like cigarette smoke is dry. The vape is there's moisture. So it was like, it was foreign to his lungs. So some people will get scared because they'll take their first hit of a vape and they'll start coughing really hard, and they really just need to give it a couple days. And
absolutely. I think one of the most convenient things like for vaping that was like a huge upseller for me is like, well, first off, we never smoked in the house. With vaping, I can vape in the house and it doesn't smell like dog shit. It doesn't have that rot. You don't get like the weird yellowy film on everything. Obviously if you vape enough, like near a window or something, you might get a slight film over a very, very long period of time. I don't know, but like it's nothing like the cigarette film at all. And just sitting in bed, you're drunk, you just ate a bunch of food, and I need to go outside for a cigarette. Like, the lazy man can now smoke inside without smoking, and like it's totally cool,
Oh, that was the worst when I lived in Florida and it was like 100 degrees outside and I had to go outside to smoke a cigarette. It's not even
air
an
sweats for
cigarette
you
at that point. Oh.
I know. It's so much better. Just, I'm going to sit in the AC, or, hey, I'm going to sit in the heat. I remember I was at the hospital one time. It was like appendicitis, dude. I was like, I don't know, 21 or something like that. 20 maybe. Anyway, we were at the hospital. I went outside for a cigarette. It was fucking 20 degrees. I had my my hospital gown on. And my girlfriend at the time, like, we're sitting there, we're just shivering our asses off, and oh god, it's so cold. Well, with vaping, you can just vape in the hotel room. Don't let anyone catch you, obviously, but you could get away with it if you really wanted to.
We got kicked out of a nice hotel once. I'm trying to remember. We went on a sales. It was a convention we were doing in Texas, and I got a room at the Omni. Like I splurged a little bit and got us a room at the Omni, right? Like 20
Tell us more how you're balling from the vape industry, buddy. God damn.
I probably used some like credit card points or something, but
I just stayed there. It's a great hotel. It's beautiful.
I own one of the rooms.
Yeah, look at this guy,
dude. That 15th floor loft. Yeah, I own that. I mean, but it's okay. It wasn't that much.
So we splurged.
The truth comes out.
Yeah.
So we couldn't find. So normally, you put a shower cap over the smoke detector in the room. Well, the Omni's really nice, right? Russell comes into the room. It's not even his room. I'm getting my stuff unpacked. He goes, "Are you guys vaping in here yet?" And we're like, "No." And Russell comes in. He grabs a smoke detector off the wall, unhooks it, and when you do that in those nice hotels, they get a notification on their board downstairs for it.
Oh.
They came up and kicked us out. Non-refundable first night. Kicked us out of the hotel. I had to stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
Oh, shit.
That night.
So
got kicked out of your own hotel room that you own, man. That sucks.
I've never gotten kicked.
In 2020, getting kicked out of your own hotel room that you own.
I've never gotten kicked out of a hotel room, but when I was in college, then I lived in the dorms for a little while, and me and my buddy, who shall remain unnamed, we were in the dorm room, and we both had like insane mech mods, right? Like insane ones that, like, I mean, like in
clouds, bro.
Yeah, like in retrospect, I cringe at the fact that I was walking around like pushing fucking O's and shit, you know, doing all that. But you know, nowadays I'm saving some pussy for the rest of the world. But like we like, and they weren't even like actual smoke detectors. They were carbon monoxide detectors, and they had like the, you know, sprinkler heads that are activated off of like heat or whatever it may be. We set off a carbon monoxide detector in our fucking apartment, in our dorm room, because we literally hotboxed the bitch. Like, if we were like, my microphone is 8 inches away from my face, you wouldn't have been able to see it. And so, you know, the second we heard the thing beep twice, we opened up the window, we just nope the fuck on out of the dorms for an hour and a half.
Well, you know, I think when you're in college, like you're there to gain knowledge and be smarter, right? But there's really like a common sense part of people. For example, you know, my shop is right across from what used to be Southern Poly University, which is an engineering school, right? And at the time, like, these are engineering students. We went on a call there while I worked with the fire department for a student who was cooking like the little Kraft mac and cheese bowls that you put water in and stuff.
Oh, they fucking burn the thing in the microwave.
They put water in it. Engineering school didn't put water in the bowl, you know?
But he'll build you a damn nice bridge.
Pretty much.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's insane. But at the same time, like, the one lesson that I learned from that experience was windows open. You know, that would have saved us so much. And then, you know, we ultimately ended up getting kicked out of the dorms for other reasons. But yeah, that was the downward trend of a slippery slope, was fucking sick clouds, bro.
Yep. It was very it was a lot of there were a lot of hobbyists back then, where there really aren't anymore. People are really using it for smoking cessation tools.
Yeah. And I mean, like, one of my really close friends owns a vape shop, and when he first opened it, then I went in, I helped him out for a little bit, and, like, you know, I'll never say that I'm especially knowledgeable on anything within the vape industry. I know what I like, and I can happily recommend anything off of my own personal preferences to somebody. But, like, I mean, even then we'd have, you know, those guys that would come into the shop, and we had, you know, a little bar that you can come and sit down at, and you know, you could try different flavors and all of that good stuff. But even then, like, we'd have guys that would come in, and they would literally bring like a fucking toolbox. They would have their own drill. They would come with all their wire. They would sit there with like a couple of nails, and they would start, you know, wrapping coils inside the shop. And I mean, even then, like, working there, I'm looking at them like, man, where the fuck do you find the time for this? It's like, I guess, while, you know, old Martin's working at the vape shop.
Yeah, back then you weren't a legit vape shop unless you had a drill press to drill out holes of RDAs to cause more airflow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember.
No, exactly.
We all did it.
We all had the mech mods and just wrapped around coils and everything. Now it's all just pre-made. So would you say, as a, you know, a shop owner, those kinds of people with the toolboxes, you know, that would flood in, and the vape comps, like the cloud comps, are those, have those gone down too, or is that still a pretty common sort of thing?
It's floated with the hobbyist side of the industry. That's really kind of died down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those were some of even the best times. Obviously, we're here for tobacco harm reduction, but I mean, I remember a distinct 4th of July party that I had at the shop We had 300 people there.
I'm pretty sure I was there at that event.
Probably.
And it was, yeah, because it flowed out in the parking lot, obviously. But I mean, it was like this insane, just.
It's not like that anymore. I could try to throw a party. I might have like 20 or 25 people. It's just not like that anymore. It was, I think the hobbyist side has kind of died down a little bit. And maybe just because there's nothing like super creative or innovative about much anything anymore. I mean, it got to the point where China was putting, Bluetooth speakers built in the mods that you use to vape with.
What?
You know what I mean? So it's.
Wow, I didn't even know that was a.
I mean,
that was a thing.
It was a fucking Game Boy.
That was a thing.
Oh yeah. There's a mod with speakers built into it.
That's insane. I mean, like
I just can't imagine.
I was fascinated by the one that Brennan has, because the thing, it like literally has a screen on it. Like, I mean, obviously it's not just like you're showing like your voltage and your wattage and everything like that, but the thing like genuinely has a screen on it.
Yeah.
And like that boggles my fucking mind.
Yeah, and mostly touchscreen too. It's wild.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, if coming from the business side of things, do you think that what is the most difficult side of it? And I guess speaking holistically over the course of the last 5 some odd years, 6 years that you've been doing this, is it the regulatory side of it? Is it the oversaturation of the market, or what kind of sticks out to you the most as the biggest hurdle or barrier of entry even?
So in the vape industry, a big date is August 8th, 2016, because it's when the FDA released their deeming regulations on the vape industry, right? So up until that point, it was really just fighting for your space on the market, After that date, because after August 8th, 2016, you're technically not allowed to release any new product without going through FDA's pre-market tobacco application. Me, as a private label and white label manufacturer and co-packer, we have to register every single SKU that we've ever manufactured, as well as their recipes, their marketing materials, their labeling, every single variation of it. So, I mean, I had someone on staff that was doing that full time for months. And I mean, it was a submission of, I think we have over like 120,000 SKUs that we registered. So an Excel sheet had to be made for every single SKU. And right now, the most difficult part is trying to educate the politicians, the ones that actually make the decisions for everything, especially right now in Georgia since session is in. The hardest part is really trying to educate them, because all they see is what's on the news and what's being told to them, right? Like back in September, vaping's killing people, and the media and the government really, and the CDC included, really did a disservice to everyone by not telling people that it was legitimately vitamin E acetate in illegal THC cartridges that was killing these people. Because you don't have an industry like this around for 10 plus years, and then all of a sudden people just start dying, any age, like just people just start dying. It doesn't make any sense. So
I'm sorry not to cut you off, but in terms of what you're talking about right now, you're talking about the most recent scandal that's been going on with like the counterfeit, like THC cartridges, right?
Correct. Yeah. That happened like end of August into September, and it affected businesses. I mean, just to let you know, the impact from the media and the government and the statements that they made. I was doing in September, October, November, I was doing less than 10% of the business that I was doing just a month before that in August. So, I mean, I had to lay off 12 of 24 people. I lost pretty much my whole support staff. I lost my COO. I lost lab personnel, my regulatory person that was taking care of that stuff. My CFO, I mean, I lost all of it. So, fortunately, we're rebuilding as the truth kind of slowly came out. They didn't scream the truth quite like they screamed the vaping's killing everyone, but they, it has bounced back quite a bit, which I'm fortunate about. Our next kind of big date as an industry is May 12th. By May 12th, everyone who manufactures a vape product is supposed to have a pre-market tobacco application into the FDA, and that is a whole nother process. They want what they call they want certain testing done on your product, right? And there's literally not even enough labs in the United States that have any room open to take product in right now. So if you can't have it in by May, like, you can't sell anything. And submitting one doesn't give you a green light and say that your product's approved by the FDA, right? It literally just buys you another year on the market. They give you a year after you submit it.
So most recently, you were talking about the vitamin E oil, I guess distillate that was used in THC cartridges. But the other big thing, excuse me, that really stuck out to me before was, and this was when I was still working in loosely in that industry, was the use of diacetyl and quote unquote popcorn lung. A few years ago, did you notice as significant of a downward trend as you did with the media frenzy over the THC cartridges, or is it trumps in comparison to what just happened?
Trumps in comparison to what just happened. I didn't feel the diacetyl statements at all, really, and there's literally still not even a single case of popcorn lung secondary to using diacetyl in vapes, right? Because it's such a small percentage. It's such a tiny percentage. And I don't know if you've ever tried liquids that use like a diacetyl, let's say a vanilla custard flavoring, for example. They make diacetyl-free vanilla custards, and then you have your regular vanilla custard. Diacetyl-free vanilla custard tastes like complete trash. It's disgusting compared to that like buttery taste that you get from the actual vanilla custard. But they literally look for anything that they can find within your product and just kind of blow it up. Because, like I said, there hasn't been a single case of popcorn lung secondary to vaping, but they say that because it contains diacetyl, it'll give you popcorn lung.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but primarily the juices that contain diacetyl, those were like the garbage bottom of the barrel juice that you would get at like some corner gas station, right?
No, they were in a lot of well-known liquids, and I think that they still are. They really still are. Just to let you know, like a good bit of our liquids have flavoring in it that have diacetyl in it. Just because the flavor and then the diacetyl-free stuff is just bad. It's how do I put it? Yeah, because there hasn't been a single case, and that was me taking it as their kind of media blow up on that subject. That I would be willing to bet that 99% of the manufacturers out there still use product with diacetyl in it.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then
that is kind of interesting. I was definitely under the impression that nobody was using it anymore.
No, I think that
frenzy died out, and so now it's less smoke and mirrors, and now it's okay to be transparent about it, because you don't have any hesitation to say that your product may contain this, which for me alone, if I can see you, the producer, the manufacturer, and the owner of the brand using something with that in it, there's no reason that you would jeopardize yourself while still putting something else on the shelves for other people,
right?
Yep.
The
one thing that's kind of stuck out to me, though, that I'm not even aware of, but what is the difference between white label and private label? What do those two terms mean in the vape industry?
I use them interchangeably. They're the same to me. So like I said, it was kind of our bread and butter when we started. So we might have this recipe that's a green apple flavor, and that same green apple flavor may be in 40 different shops, and they all have a different label on it. So.
And it's usually like the shop. That's like a shop's like house brand, and it would
Correct.
just be like the name of the shop or whatever.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So with that in mind, then going forward after you said May 12th, May 16th,
May 12th.
what is kind of, I mean, obviously, from an insider standpoint, what is the industry's opinion on that going forward in terms of, I mean, I'm assuming you welcome any additional regulation that goes with it because it, opens up to transparency, similar to how, how you could even compare it to like legalizing cannabis or anything like that, and it finally being able to, be subjected to different kinds of testing. So do you look at it the same way? Is it under, the same kind of smoke and mirrors as other, I mean, I guess in my opinion, those two industries kind of go hand in hand sometimes. And so, do you think that introducing more regulation and more testing and more, more hand of the government in it is a good thing, or do you think it kind of pushes the industry backwards?
I'm half and half with it, right? Because they went this whole time and they wrote this whole process and book on submitting a pre-market tobacco application, and ultimately it's not realistic for anyone that does under like $100 million a year in sales. You know what I mean? There's like one, maybe two vape companies that exist, manufacturers that exist that could currently, as it's written, submit a PMTA and be successful with it, right? So the guy who heads up the Health and Human Services for the government, he has stated on a podcast, I think a couple weeks ago, that they're working on a pathway for smaller manufacturers for the PMTA. So right now we're all kind of crossing our fingers and hoping for that pathway. Outside of that, there are steps that we can take to still ensure that we're on the market for at least another year. From what I understand, the FDA is accepting a cover letter stating that you have every intent to get that testing done from all the labs that are full right now, because they realize that all the labs are full. So
in terms of from the testing standpoint and everything like that, what are the guidelines and what is actually associated with the testing, and what kind of expectations, or sorry, what are the expectations from you guys as manufacturers and purveyors? What does that actually entail for you?
So I'm not entirely sure the whole process. I just know that they're going to take your product and all the variants for your product in different nicotine strengths, right? And they're going to test it and look at the byproducts of the product, because people will tell you, right, that vape contains 4 ingredients. They'll tell you nicotine, vegetable glycerin, propylene glycol, and food grade flavorings. They're like, oh, it only contains four ingredients, when the reality of it is that, yeah, the food grade flavorings also have their own chemical profiles, right? Like you don't just have a green apple flavoring. There's chemicals that make up that green apple flavoring. So they're going to take your product and they're going to look at the byproducts of it. They're going to look at accuracy and what you're saying is in there. And outside of that, I don't know what else they test for personally. That's kind of something that I'm going to leave up to a consulting company that's going to take on that project to take care of. Doing it in-house, I don't think is realistic. So
now, you kind of talked about how this most recent with the THC and the deaths and stuff kind of affected everything. Are you starting to bounce back? Are you seeing the industry kind of bounce back from that, or is that still something that you're dealing with?
So we are, it's so unfortunate because I would have to say that 25% of the shops out there closed because they just couldn't make it, right? The sales hurt them so bad and they didn't have extra cash put aside for, in the event that something like this happened, and their overhead is so much that 25% of the shops have closed, right? Which is very unfortunate. I don't wish that upon anyone. But right now, the shops that are still surviving, I'm getting asked for new product all the time now, which is kind of like green grass in the pasture. Like it brightens my day. It makes me smile, and it's nice that they're kind of alive, kicking and making new moves. So now with that, you'll see in the industry that there will be some diversification so that they don't have all their eggs in one basket. Like you'll see 99% of vape or 90% of vape shops are probably carrying some form of like CBD product now, or
I've definitely seen that quite a bit.
Some are carrying kratom, for example. Some are carrying glass, similar to a smoke shop. So it's not necessarily because they've gotten away from the tobacco harm reduction part of what they believe in and why they started their shop, but it's to pay bills.
So then going forward with all that, you said there's only a couple of shops that would a couple of brands that would realistically be able to, meet that May 12th deadline. Those $100 million shops. Are these, and I kind of hate wearing that tinfoil hat, but how much influence of that do you think is through like the big tobacco industry? Because you got things like, hell, I don't even know if they exist, but like the Blue, which I believe was owned by Marlboro or something like that, or stuff like that. Do you think that the actual big tobacco industry has such a big hand in the vaping industry that it can, that the regulation is written catered towards companies that are able to sustain it?
So here's what I believe that the big tobacco companies don't like the vape industry. I believe that they've made their products. Because they needed a product to try to fit in. But ultimately, I don't think that the big tobacco likes the vape industry at all. I believe that the pre-market tobacco application process from the FDA was literally a copy and paste from a tobacco company that wanted to submit to have a new cigarette on the market, which is why it just seems so unreachable, because the FDA wanted to make that unreachable for tobacco companies. They wanted to make it in a very expensive process for tobacco companies because we know that cigarettes are killing people. I don't know if you know much about the master settlement agreement with states.
Not at all familiar.
No, not at all.
So I forgot when it was exactly, but the states were enduring so much medical healthcare costs secondary to smoking, right? Because you had patients that were in hospitals and patients that were in hospice or in home care secondary to smoking and asthma and prescription drugs, that the state was like, we can't take on all this cost anymore. So they multiple states sued tobacco companies, and they came up with what they call the master settlement agreement. Now every tobacco product that's sold by those tobacco companies is to pay a percentage to the states. That's why it's very odd that states like New York and Massachusetts and all those northeastern states that make the most off of the master settlement agreement were the first ones to jump on board with completely banning vape in September when all this happened.
Jesus.
And so you think that all loops around just kind of full circle?
Absolutely. They're getting, because the percentage that they're making off of the master settlement agreement, which is millions of dollars a year, by the way, millions of dollars a year. If you actually look at their budgets and where the money goes, it doesn't go into educational programs to prevent smoking at the high school or middle school level. It's going into other budgets. So they don't have that money for the budgets. So they've got to get it from somewhere, which is why you're seeing all these taxes. We're probably about to get a 7% wholesale tax here in Georgia this session, which is reasonable compared to some others. Pennsylvania is a 40% wholesale tax. Kentucky's
Jesus Christ.
What?
Yeah, Kentucky's facing some, I want to say it may be a 40% wholesale and a 40% floor tax. So they've got to pay, right when it comes out, they've got to pay 40% of the wholesale cost of their inventory.
So in terms of the taxation of it, that's something that hits pretty close to home here in Chicago. I don't know if it's just the city of Chicago or if it's all of Cook County, which is Chicago and the surrounding area, if you're not familiar. But if you go here to a vape shop, then first of all, you're not technically allowed to do any sort of sampling anymore. Everybody still does it, but you're not technically supposed to be able to do it anymore. And you actually have to buy your juice at a 0 milligram, and then you buy whatever nicotine percentage of it. And that's because you get billed or you get taxed per milligram of THC per milliliter of juice. So when this first went through, then you had guys who were selling, say a 30 milliliter bottle of juice at 3%, 3 milligrams of nicotine. That, bottle of juice a week earlier costed you, let's call it $14. Now that same bottle of juice is going to cost you $40 because of the tax. And so, I mean, even now, like a lot of places, like the vape shop that I go to, they can circumvent the tax by just making the nicotine free. Like you don't pay for the nicotine in it. One of our viewers said not nicotine, not THC. If I said THC, I'm sorry. They're definitely not selling that at vape shops. And then I guess kind of looping around to that, then, you were saying earlier that a lot of these shops are now going towards, selling CBD, selling kratom, selling glass. Are you guys at all involved in the CBD industry and manufacturing or bottling or, processing of any of the CBD juices?
So with the diversification and what shops had to do to stay afloat during that time, right? We had requests for to package CBD and kratom for clients, and we do that, yeah.
Do you see any sort of regulatory difference in terms of how it goes with CBD as it does with just regular, nicotine juice?
I think I don't know if it's going to be regulated harder or not, but I know that they're probably going to act on it a lot faster than they did the vape industry. If the FDA and the government did to the vape industry what they did, if they did it 6 years ago, vape industry would be gone. You know what I mean? But there's been such a just the business and the flow and the income and the money spent on lobbyists and attorneys and lawyers and all of that. It's a lot harder for them now.
I mean, I liken the influx of CBD shops similar to that of like the cash for gold shops in like 2015. I mean, it seems like literally, man, out of nowhere, all of a sudden on every single corner, it's CBD this, CBD that. I mean, hell, we live in a pretty populous neighborhood, right? We live near Wrigley Field. And I mean, hell, within, I would say probably a mile of us, there's at least a half dozen just dedicated CBD shops. Like that's insane.
Wow.
Yeah, the problem is
they're called like shaman. Like a lot of the shops around here have like shaman in the name, and they make it. They market themselves as almost like this witch doctor, holistic like health store.
Get some crystals with your CBD.
But they're selling the same like gummies and tinctures and stuff that everybody else is selling. But like I always want to walk into one because I'm like, yo, it's a fucking shaman. Like let's go. Let's go check this out. But they're all the same, man. You can buy the same gummies at gas stations around here now.
Yeah,
so
I'm a huge advocate.
There's not enough CBD users compared to the amount of CBD vendors there are right now. It's totally imbalanced.
Absolutely.
There's not enough users. I don't get me wrong. It wasn't too long ago that I thought that CBD was snake oil. Like I thought it was just. I thought the concept was crazy. Maybe it was because I didn't understand it. I pulled.
It's confusing.
It is.
I mean, even if you go like look at it, and you're like, if I went onto a website right now and I was going to order, it doesn't matter, a tincture or a balm or whatever. It's like all the different concentrations, but there's not really any guidelines anywhere that are like, okay, if you weigh this much, or if you're whatever, if you're trying to rub it on your shoulder and your shoulder's this big, you need to get this concentration to like work the best for you. And I think that's why people will go into shops like that, is because they want somebody to explain to them exactly what they want to buy. But because of the confusion, I think that there's a lot of people that are like, you know what, fuck this. Like, I'm not even going to learn about this because, like, I don't care that much. Like, I'll just take Advil or, like, whatever it is for pain relief. But it's fucking confusing. Like, it's really confusing.
Well, where they're kind of pinching right now, right, and it's another thing where the government's going to hurt it more than help it, is that the FDA states that you can't make any health claims on it, right? So making something like dosages or suggestions becomes, I think, kind of hard.
Yeah, I understand that.
But one of our best selling products that we package for people is a roll-on, a CBD roll-on. I didn't believe in it until I actually used that myself for a muscle I pulled in my back. Pain was gone in 30 minutes. It was wild.
Yeah, so and I've tried, like, my family all lives on the West Coast. So obviously, there's a lot more things out there that are legal than there are here. And they gave me this stuff called, I think it was literally called Bombs Away. And if you can smell it, like it smelled like straight weed with menthol in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this thick, like dark green colored paste, but it actually had like THC in it, I believe. And they were like, oh yeah, it absorbs straight in your skin. And I was like, bullshit. And it was the same thing. It numbed the hell out of whatever you put it on. Mm-hmm. Whereas, you buy something like Icy Hot, to me, Icy Hot is nothing but a skin irritant. Like it just causes irritation on your skin to take your mind off of what's actually hurting.
Yeah.
But this stuff was like the craziest shit ever. And so I haven't tried the CBD ones because I just feel like nothing is going to live up to this illegal one I had. So I haven't even bothered with them yet. But yeah, but now I can't get it. I keep telling my mom, I'm like, yo, hustle me, put it in a jar of peanut butter and ship it.
Mm-hmm.
Mom, why'd you send me some Skippy?
she'd be like, hollow it out, dear. It's in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think CBD is great, but I look at it in the same light as I do, in terms of just regular vaping, though. Like it's like, we were all 16 once, and you try puffing your first jazz cigarette in a backyard, and it is what it is. But I mean, a little bit of that giggle bush, but as I get older, the idea of just like going cross-eyed in my living room like doesn't appeal to me. But I can absolutely see the medicinal benefits of just using CBD for, if you're using it, topically, like, from a pain relief standpoint, like you said. I mean, I thought that was bullshit. Like, I lived in Colorado for a little bit. Like, I got a taste of all of that stuff, and like, yeah, it works great. But for me, I get the same effects out of like a purely like legal. Well, I guess in Illinois it's completely legal no matter what now, but I get the same effects off of like essentially CBD Tiger Balm as I would off of, one that has THC in it. And I mean, the difference between that and using like Bengay or Icy Hot is stark. And so, from a business standpoint, it's really interesting to me to see how like the vape industry is diversifying around all of it. And I know we kind of derailed and started talking about CBD relative to just vaping in general, but I mean, I really do think that they're complements of each other. Because you get a cessation factor from them both. You get, eating the leg of a gummy bear that has X amount of milligrams of CBD in it is infinitely better for you than popping 20 Advil a day.
That's just it. Like, I mean, you can take 2 milliliters of a tincture, and instead of taking all of that stuff that just like kills your kidneys and liver and just the long-term effect of that, the long-term effects of that, I would much rather see that,
Well, it's like, my father-in-law, he's in a wheelchair and he lives in the state of Texas where you can't buy any of that stuff at all. And, he has to take down dozens of pills every day, and doctors don't know what's wrong with them. They haven't known what's wrong with them for a decade now. And, how much damage is all that medication doing for him? And if he's in pain one day and the meds don't kick in because he's on so many different drugs at once, bless his heart, he can't have CBD or, the illegal stuff, like just, to calm it down. It's kind of ridiculous.
The biggest disservice that I think the government has done in general to try to protect everyone is ban it before they know anything about it.
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
First thing that they do.
I mean, there was I actually had read, if you go into like the deep dark corners of the internet, you can find this stuff where like, and I don't know, it's on the internet, so who knows? Maybe it's fake, but it makes fucking sense to me. So,
was it next an ad about lizard people?
No. All about about the fucking lizard people, though. Trust me. Everybody listening, everybody watching, I am searching for a diehard flat earther to interview on here. It is going to fucking happen.
We need that.
Anyway, dude, oh my God. Anyway, but like they have found the cure for the common cold. But when they found this cure, literally all of the over-the-counter companies were like, no. Like, you can't fucking put that out because I got to sell my Ricolas and I got to sell my Alka-Seltzer Plus Cold and I got to sell this and I got to sell my fucking Dimetap and whatever. So, like, they just haven't put it out there. Supposedly, they have also found the cure for cancer, but they're making too much money off of the treatment for people.
100% believe it.
Like, you cannot fucking tell me that with the amount of technology and the amount of research that we have these days, that they have not figured out a way to get rid of different things like that. They just want us to keep fucking forking out the money for it. And I know that's like a whole other topic, but anyway.
I get it. I mean, I was not a believer in the corrupt government. Like, I thought it was all tinfoil hat people stuff, government corruption and all that, until this happened to the vape industry. And I was like, this is a real thing. And it legitimately is about the money. You got Andrew Cuomo from Governor of New York, right? Who says during this whole process where he's trying to ban vapes, he says, yes, vaping is better than smoking, but so what? Like, it's cycled around the internet. You can find the video, but that's legitimately what he says. I mean, it's very corrupt, and I hate to be one of those people, but it is. It's about the money.
It's better than smoking, and I could say that because my pappy smoked, and his pappy smoked, and his pappy before him, and it's all good. Yeah.
Shit, I don't know. I mean, I was on the Lucky Strike non-filters for a while, man. You want to talk about some fucking harshness?
Yeah,
filters. Golly.
You know, it's actually
I used
funny to talk out of your nose.
Oh.
I used to hate when I used to go bum one for my friend, and it was one of those DeJarum clove cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, man. The one
It's so good, though.
You know, we're all sitting here with our vapes in our hands. We're all going to be, sitting on the couch after this episode, be like, man, a red sounds pretty fucking good right about now.
Yeah, no shit. I was a Camel filter guy, man. I started smoking in sophomore year of high school. I was 14. And we would go behind like the gas station, behind the high school or whatever, sneak through the woods. There was a couch back there, dude. We'd go back there and just smoke cigarettes for like 20 minutes. We'd just chain smoke and then go back down to the school. And teachers would be like, "Were you smoking?" I'm like, "No, my parents were." What are they going to say? And dude, a few months after I started smoking, man, we were in German class, and a buddy of mine and myself, we kicked back in our chairs as I'm showing you now, and we fucking lit up a cigarette in class, dude. In fucking class. Dude, believe me or not, it fucking happened. He got suspended. No one liked him. Everyone liked me. They didn't rat me out. They said it was just him. And I didn't get suspended, man. Thank fuck. I was dumb as hell, man, because my parents, they didn't know I smoked at that time. They didn't find out for another like 6 months or something like that. And then, that's a whole nother fucking ass reaming story, but they beat my ass, man. But yeah, lit up a fucking cigarette in German class, the German class that I failed, by the way. But yeah, man, and smoked ever since. And I was on and off hell until I went into Justin's shop, married a vape bar. I mean, I would hit it on and off, with vaping and smoking cigarettes. But it was when I got a proper mod from Marriott Vape Bar that I was like, boom, done, handled.
Because we started on those damn
the Smock Tech fucking where they have like this nylon rope.
No, before that, the little eco thing.
Yeah, that was Smock.
Whatever. I don't fucking know, dude. I just remember that when we first got them, we thought we were so fucking cool. And we were like, yo, dude, this shit is going to take the fuck off. We should open a vape shop. And that was before you had Marriott Vape Bar. That was before whatever. And then we just never did it because we were like, oh well, maybe it's not going to be that cool. And then it was literally like a year or two later, and it was just boom, Vape City, bitch, Vape City, bitch.
Yep.
And we fucking at Vape Bar.
And we were gonna have it like where Vape City opened. Like we were like, dude, that would be the perfect spot. And it was literally the same shopping center, and we were gonna name it Darth Vapors.
Disney coming at you strong with that copyright strike.
I thought it was Darth Vapors.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Either way, both are great fucking names.
This is a man of action. We were a man of ideas.
Yeah, story of my fucking life.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of bring it all full circle. Tell us a little bit more about my vape bar and everything that you've got going on in that world and what anybody who's out there that's interested in either the vaping industry currently or interested in, some kind of smoking cessation, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Well, from September and the less than 10% that we were doing, we've recovered quite a bit. I've been able to start to rehire people. If you go to myvapebar.com, you'll see all of the brands. You'll see a column for core brands. Those are our brands that we made, we developed, we marketed, we sell, and we're behind. We did the flavor development and everything behind all of it. And then we've got a menu on the website called Copac Brands, and those are all the brands that we currently package that we don't own that are available on the website. We have anything from 30 ml bottles to 120 ml bottles in 0 milligram through 18 milligram. And I mean, when you deal with us, we will always make sure that you're 100% happy, right? So I had a gentleman call in from New York actually the other day, just called the office line. He said that he had bought a bottle from a shop somewhere up there. And the reason I knew it was an old bottle is because it didn't have the proper nicotine warning on it. And we haven't bottled anything without a nicotine warning for over a year and a half when that regulation came into effect. So with that, I mean, the guy didn't buy it from me. But I didn't want him sitting with a bad product of ours or an expired product of ours. So I ended up sending him out a little care package of a bunch of things. And I mean, he called in as soon as he received it. He's like, this is amazing. Great customer service. You guys are awesome for what you do. And that's how we operate around here. We're very family oriented. We want to make sure that everyone's 100% right at any cost. It doesn't matter if I make money on the transaction or lose money. I'm going to make sure that it's right. That's.
And like speaking of a family oriented operation, like you have family members that now work there with you, right?
Yeah, so my dad actually came and helped and worked with us for like 6 months or so, but my wife actually handles the warehouse and the shipping department and the production scheduling, right? And Jason, I consider family. I mean, he's been with us for 6 years. He lives, breathes, eats, my vape bar. I mean, he will, at the drop of the word, he'll stay for extra hours. And we've been on cruises together. We've been on vacations together. We see each other every day. So if I had more immediate family around, I'm sure that they would work with us,
Yeah. That's awesome.
I'll still work for you, by the way.
Come on with it.
I'm already a part of OWL, the band that we interviewed last week. So if I can, like,
you're align this with my touring schedule.
Yeah. As long as I can work at my own, free will and my schedule, then should be good.
So what are your go-to flavors? And I'll stick with just the stuff that you guys kind of make in-house. Just give a little more of an homage just to you. But what are your go-to flavors? What do you think that everybody should try?
So my absolute number one, and like I said, I smoked Marlboro Smooths when I did smoke, so I was more of a menthol type of guy. So mine are primarily menthols. My absolute favorite flavor that we manufacture is an orange mango kiwi menthol. Now we have a regular orange mango kiwi in the simple E-fruit line, and it sells 50 to 1 anything that we manufacture, Copac or core brands.
That's
like orange
stout.
mango kiwi has been, it's been our number one staple, and it's kind of our our go-to for even getting into shops. Like once a shop tries it, they're like, it's so crazy how people who primarily like desserts, they'll try orange mango kiwi and they'll be like, this is a really good fruit blend.
I'm gonna need to get me some of that. I haven't heard of that or had anything like it.
You haven't tried orange mango kiwi?
No.
We're currently using kiwi mango something menthol. So I mean, what you're saying there is just like straight up my fucking alley, man.
Right up your alley, right? But legitimately, it doesn't matter what we produce, what we had released when we could release stuff. Orange mango kiwi, we had single shops ordering 30, 40, 50 bottles every other week of this stuff. And that's odd for a single shop to order that much of a single flavor. That's not normal. So
yeah. Good. What about in terms of, do you guys sell devices as well or just juice?
Just e-liquid. Yeah, we don't sell any devices.
Is there
a location we do, but it's not really online based.
For any particular reason, or just, I mean, is there any sort of regulatory body that kind of controls that, or is it just personal preference? You guys just stick with what you know and you love?
Just personal preference, because devices will change just so frequently that I would need a full-time person just to keep up with, keeping up with products on the website. You really want a job?
Yeah, 30 unemployed in the desert, buddy.
Try to find something.
So in terms of, do you guys do any sort of shit? I don't even know if vape expos or anything like that are a thing, but do you guys do any sort of appearances like that? Or is all of your, in terms of, you said that you guys are in a lot of shops, but how do you keep on continuing your brand awareness?
So expos was a really good way. I haven't done an expo in a little while, but we try to go to at least 2 conventions or expos a year, and we actually do it kind of big every time we do. So we have a brand called Emergency Vape Stash. It's a big bottle. It's a big bottle brand, and they're very like straight to the point flavors: lemon cheesecake, blueberry cheesecake, vanilla custard, strawberry vanilla custard. We actually have 2 full-size real ambulances that are built out for the Emergency Vape Stash brand. They're fully wrapped with the Emergency Vape Stash branding. Mike Fox, who was on here the other day, he did all the audio inside of it. I mean, one of them's got 2 huge subs, marine grade speakers around the outside. It's got 4 TVs that hang from the outside of it that you could play Xbox on.
God damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we've got a live viewer asking, what do you think is your guys' best dessert flavor that you offer?
Best dessert flavor would be a tie between lemon cheesecake from Emergency Vape Stash and flakes from the Flakes line. It's just straight up Frosted Flakes, a sweet Frosted Flakes cereal. They're both very good.
That lemon cheesecake I can vouch for. I just finished it a couple days ago. It's pretty damn good.
Highly recommend the lemon cheesecake. Cannoli is also very good from a line called Hundo.
Cannoli is, I've been through at least 6 bottles of that, bro. That's good shit.
We've got another question of what do you guys consider like the craziest flavor that you sell? Do you sell some like crazy Jelly Belly, earthworm vomit flavor shit, or?
I'll tell you I don't think we have anything that's really crazily flavored. Now, I mean, to me, we have a couple flavors that we manufacture that have lychee in them, or lychee, however you pronounce it, and that stuff smells like feet to me. So I'm a huge fan of it. But outside of that, I ordered a bacon flavored flavoring concentrate one time, and it was the most god awful smelling stuff. We opened it once, it stunk up the place for like a week. We ended up having to throw it out. It was terrible.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Man,
I remember there was that one flavor that was like a huge trend back in the day, and it was like the buttered popcorn one.
Oh, there was a buttered corn one I bought at an expo one time. It was a cream corn flavor.
No, that's not it. It was
we did one during the holidays. It's a fruitcake donut that's really good. Some people would say that's odd.
That's odd. Yeah, that's definitely odd.
Not something you hear all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, so I'm just kind of reading out our questions that we've got here in chat. What's the flavor that you would consider kind of surprise you the most?
Flavor that surprised me the most? Oh gosh.
One that you would assume was terrible, but was actually fantastic. We'll go with that.
Seller.
We thought that there was no way. So there's a line that we used to make called White Noise, and it is literally there's 7 flavors in the simple e-fruit line. There's a orange, mango, kiwi, blackberry, blueberry, grape, watermelon, honeydew, cantaloupe, and there's 4 other flavors just like that. White Noise, we literally took an equal percentage of every single one of those and put it in a bottle, and I was like, we're just gonna try it, and it was a very hot seller for a very long time.
I bought several of those myself. I
It was
recall.
it was a royal pain in the butt to make because you open up the recipe sheet for it and it's 25 flavorings long, so it takes forever to mix.
No, I remember it, man. I mean, shit, all your crazy concoctions up until what 4 years ago, because I worked right down the road. So every day for lunch, I would go grab my Taco Bell, scarf it down while I'm driving over to his place, a mile, half a mile away, and then just sit there at the bar, hang out.
Yep.
Every day for lunch. I mean, it took me 5 minutes to get back to work, so it worked out for me.
Man, so we were talking about your brand awareness and your advertising. I hear that podcast advertising is like a really popular way to get your name out there these days.
I'm all about it. What's it cost?
We'll talk. Somebody in chat was asking for a buttery fresh promo code for your website, so that's the only reason that I said that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely
joking.
No, absolutely. I'll make one up. I should have had one made before this, so I'll make one up and shoot. I could probably do that real fast.
Look at that. Welcome to 2020, folks. How you peer pressure your guests into promo
codes. So how about them promo codes, dude?
I guess what's the rest of, I mean, you kind of talked about everything that's going on in May, and I'm assuming, depending on how all of that turns around there, we'll really kind of forecast the rest of the year. But do you have anything crazy exciting that you've got going on this year that you think is, really worth, throwing out there to everybody?
Well, no matter what it takes, we are going to move forward with the PMTA process, the pre-market tobacco application process, so that we can stay on the market. I'm going to be honest, it doesn't matter CBD or kratom or glass or anything else that we might dabble in or try. Nothing has me more passionate than the vape industry. So it's really hard even to start another business for me because I'm so passionate about this one. I know I need to so that I can continue to grow personally, but the vape industry, I'm just so passionate about it. It's hard for me to get excited about other stuff right now. So although we do those things, like my heart and soul's into making this succeed and thrive and be even better. So I mean, if I could see myself in a year, hopefully I'm packaging for 25 more clients and that we're pushing out a 500,000 bottles a month versus 150,000 or 125,000, whatever it may be. So,
well, here's to it.
That's so admirable, dude. Just it's the constant growth and persistence that you have is just it's not a common thing. Like I hope you pat yourself on the back and you're not hard on yourself, man, because I've again, I know I said this in the beginning, like I've seen you grow from the very fucking beginning, and it's not a normal thing what you have going on up here, up in your head. So
just probably one of the hardest things to overcome in owning a business is finding someone that can care half as much as you about the business so that they have that same, or at least part of the same type of grind you do, or hustle, whatever you want to call it. So that has been probably one of the largest speed bumps I've ever dealt with, just period. It's just hiring people that care, because people will come in with this complete facade, I guess, while they're interviewing, and then you bring them on board and they're completely different. They're working against you, and it's so hard to deal with.
Yeah, Yeah, and
So when I do
probably
find
a good
one,
way to give you trust issues too.
yeah, really. I mean, and the when I do find one that I know that's going to be long term, I mean, you got to do everything you can to take care of them, um, whether it be a higher pay rate or let them take time off when they need time off or treat them to a bonus or vacation or whatever it be, whatever it takes to keep them around.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, man. I mean,
your bosses felt that way.
Shit, yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I was about to say. Is up until I started working where I'm working right now. I mean, the epitome of shitty bosses was kind of the story of my life, and it's kind of incredible just hearing the way that you speak about it. I'm just now getting into the management side of things from a corporate side, and so hearing the success stories of others and kind of trying to see how I can relate that to my own life is pretty incredible. And even like right now, we're in the middle of hiring, and it's so hard to cut through the facade of bullshit during an interview process, because you'll have somebody that'll say like, oh yeah, man, I love this and that, I'm dedicated for this and this much, but then 6 months later they're asking for a raise with their performance reviews down the toilet. Yeah. And so it's hard. And it is incredible the impact that it has had on me specifically, having a boss that actually gives a shit. So I sincerely hope that whatever, and you and I had never met until this interaction. And so all that we know about each other is from this, 90 minutes that we've been talking right now. And I can safely say that, I hope that you keep on growing that team. I know the last, it's like 6 months or so were a little rough just because of what was happening over the summer. But, it seems like you've got the head on your shoulders to keep on pushing for success. And, having the mentality and actually giving a damn about people and, caring about something other than just, your bottom line will take you miles further. I mean, it's, I said it when we were doing our little, pre-chat here. I ordered from you before completely unknowingly about who you are. I can't speak to your customer service. I can't speak to anything else, but I know for a fact the bottle arrived, and anything above that, the stories that you're sharing about, keeping clients happy and keeping employees happy, like that alone speaks more than any sales pitch or marketing pamphlet you can give to anybody.
Yeah, we're 100% all about that here. So we take pride in that, But that's what I always wanted in business. When I open a business, it's to do better than other people that may be in the same industry as you. That's what it's about. So
yeah.
I think Jeff's muted.
You are correct, sir.
Astute observation. But so now we've got somebody in our chat who's totally not my girlfriend, saying that as long as your products don't arrive with the coronavirus. And I've been talking to Jeff here a little bit, man. What are you doing to make sure that those bottles stay sterile down there in glorious Georgia?
It's tough. I mean, to be 100% honest again, I mean, everything, the empty bottles themselves is manufactured in China. Obviously, our raw ingredients, the propylene glycol, the vegetable glycerin, the nicotine is from overseas. It's not from China, but it's sourced here in the States, right? Because vegetable glycerin, I think, is derived in Indonesia for some reason. That's where it's sourced from, and same with nicotine's from over in that direction too. But when it comes to the stuff from China, I mean, all that we can do is continue our sanitary methods that we use in the lab, and wash bottles and everybody stay clean and use proper PPE and continue to do what we do. It's I can tell you that there's probably going to be a pinch soon. My vendor said that that the main vendor for bottles, Chubby Gorilla out of California, they're completely out of 120 ml bottles right now, which is a pretty big deal. But I'm sure it directly relates to what's going on overseas with the delayed start from the Chinese New Year. And, I have seen some people from this industry that were over in China during all this crisis, and they say that the hype and everything that's going on in the U.S. right now is a lot more than what's going on over there. I think that overall is if everyone washes their hands and tries to keep as clean as possible, that's the best we can do right now.
Hell, not only wash your hands, but go scoop up all the toilet paper you can find.
Golly.
God. Hey, and also, all you listeners, don't forget the bread and milk.
Bread and milk. You gotta have your bread.
Totally won't go bad.
Yeah, it totally won't go bad. In a few days, it makes a great breakfast to eat soggy bread with milk, milk toast.
Milk toast.
And
next flavor.
Yeah, there's a next flavor, bro. See, I told you I'm a good employee, Justin.
Yeah.
Dude, my son is so freaked out about the coronavirus that he is actually washing his hands so much that his knuckles the other day, I was looking at his knuckles and he looked like he got in a fucking bar fight because his knuckles are raw from the soap drying out his hands. So now he has to wash his hands and then use lotion right afterwards because I thought I was gonna take him to a doctor because he's got literally bloody knuckles from the chafing on his hands. It's insane,
bro. I survived Ebola and the Zika virus. I'll be just fucking fine,
bro. I survived the old masquerade bathroom.
Vouch. Yeah.
What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to stay inside. I mean, it's the world.
Don't you challenge me,
buddy? That's been me for the past 4 months, bro.
Oh man. Well, dude, I want to just go ahead and take an opportunity to just thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I know that this is kind of one side of the industry. I know as it's grown, there's a lot of people that vape and quit smoking because of it, and it's been an awesome thing. But nobody really knows the behind the scenes stuff. Nobody really understands what actually goes into them being able to walk into a store and just buy a bottle of juice or to be able to buy anything. No, and I mean, it's not just with vaping; it's like that with everything. But still, it's been awesome just kind of getting some education on it, and I know that everyone is going to appreciate that little bit of insight. So, dude, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate you coming on here, dude. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I mean, this probably could have been a 5-hour ordeal. I mean, and trust me, I could have kept going. There's so much more to go over, but yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, no one's to say that this is the one only time to have you on. We can definitely, bring it back on for another episode. Later on, and just kind of continue it from there.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's definitely something that I don't think is very common.
Yeah, I gotta be there for that, please. I've got so many memes to present.
So I've got to ask you one closing question, and it's along the lines of your stereotypical vapor.
Talk to me.
What color is your WRX?
Damn it, I owned a WRX a year and a half ago.
I had to hit you with it.
That's Subie fire style.
I had an electric blue one. Now I have a pickup truck.
There you go. But yeah, man, for everybody who's listening in, check out myvapebar.com. Find them on Instagram at myvapebar, facebook.com/myvapebarus. I believe that hits all of them. Are you on Twitter?
I think so. Gosh, I don't handle all social media.
Potentially look up My Vape Bar on Twitter. Not confirmed.
Potentially.
Is clearly the raddest in the land. So got it under control.
Yeah, man. So that wraps up episode 5 of the Buttery Fresh with Just Kicklater. Thank you again, man, for being on. Always after our episodes, we stick around, we hang out with Twitch chat for a little bit. You're more than welcome to stick around, or you can peace on out whenever you'd like. But that's episode 5. Thank you, everybody.
We appreciate it. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever on all the platforms. You can find it on Linktree. It's linktr.ee.com/thebutterifresh. You can find us on Twitter, Podbean, Spotify, soon iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube, Instagram, all the things, all the things.
At the Buttery Fresh on all your preferred content selection.
Yeah, every little thing is a massive help. You have no idea. So we definitely appreciate all that.
Actually, one last very valid question that came in. Are you U.S. only, or do you ship internationally?
We do ship international.
All right. You heard it here.
We're getting an order from Germany here pretty soon.
The Buttery Fresh episode 5. It's international. Thank you, guys.